guys, it's me, and today I'm talking about the Renegades trilogy by Marissa and Meyer. This is a trilogy of books. I know I just did a series discussion as my last video, but what can I say? I've just been finishing series recently. I'm sorry. I've noticed this year that I've gotten into the habit of like binge reading series, or like close to binge reading series, which I haven't done before. I'm not a good one at this. The only series that I've done that with before this year was the Percy Jackson series, and that was an exception. I feel like therefore more of like these videos are coming because this is the third series I finished this year that also started this year. Like, that's unheard of. Let's just begin with discussing these books. There we go. It's a trilogy of books. Let's just go over. Oh yeah, if you haven't seen any of my series discussions before, they are spoiler free. I'll go over the synopsis first and a little ranking of my books, my individual thoughts on these books, and then we'll just wrap up my overall thoughts on the series. But I call these discussions because I want to. Also just because I really just want to encourage people to like discuss the series and the books in the comments to make this a two-way street. So that's why it's called the discussion, even though like it's completely spoiler free. Don't worry. So yeah, let's begin with just quickly. This series exists out of Renegades, Arch Enemies, and Supernova, and this series takes place in a world where people have superpowers, and in the beginning of time the people with superpowers were oppressed, I don't know, they were oppressed by the people without superpowers because they were scared, you know? And then we specifically follow this one town, but like this town was kind of like a precedent for what happened around the rest of the world. And in this town, the anarchists were like, we have enough, we don't want to be oppressed anymore, and just like took over. And the anarchists believed in a world without rules, without laws, so therefore the world became crime-filled, and a lot of people were murdered without consequences, and it was just not a great place to live. So the Renegades, which is another group of people with superpowers, took over, and were just like, we're gonna put laws in place and make sure like the people are protected and safe and peace, you know? And now, a couple of years after that last takeover happens, we are following Nova, who is the niece of like the head of the anarchists, and she, as a kid, her parents were killed. This was when the Renegades were already at the top, and they swore to protect every single person that lived in the town. So her parents and her little sister were murdered, and the Renegades did nothing about it. The person that actually came to save her is her uncle, who was an anarchist. So she's kind of been upset at the Renegades since then, and she's also been a part of the anarchists that now live underground. It's a tiny group of people very tightly controlled by the Renegades. But even though they're very tightly controlled, the Renegades don't know about Nova and her existence at all. So the anarchists are kind of want to get back in power, and they're fed up with how tightly controlled they are by the Renegades, so they send Nova to go spy on the Renegades for them to become part of their troops. And a second character we follow is Adrian, and he is the son of one of the founding members of the Renegades. Like, he's a biological son of one of them, and then his mother died and got adopted by like two of the other Renegades. So he's like very tied in to the Renegades founding families. He's a lot of loyalty to the Renegades, is what I'm trying to say. And he has this ability to draw whatever and make it become real. So he is trying to push like the boundaries of his power. And Adrian is the team captain of the team that Nova ends up joining, and the two hit it off very quickly. They become friends, and as they talk, even though Adrian doesn't know Nova is an anarchist, they do end up like challenging each other's beliefs a little bit. Let's do a quick ranking. So my least favorite from this series, I know it's gonna be controversial, is Renegades, the first one. Then I have Supernova, which I acknowledge maybe objectively as the better book, but I just personally enjoyed Arch Enemies more. So this is my ranking of the series. Let's quickly go into individual reviews so I can explain to you why. Renegades is a book I've had on my TBR for a while. I think I owned this like since it came out in Dutch. Like I was ready for it because I really loved the Lunar Chronicles. So I was super excited for the series, and it's a it doesn't look big because it has it's very thin pages, but it is a pretty long book. So I was intimidated by it. I didn't read it until this year. I read it pretty early on in the year, and I give it 2 out of 5 stars because personally I wasn't too big of a fan of this book. As you noticed in my synopsis, what I told you isn't a real plot. It's because this book doesn't have a real plot. Like the actual, like, I would say like real plot and like conflict gets introduced like towards the end of this book, and like I can tell you that without spoiling you it. So that's one of the big reasons why I just didn't enjoy this book, is because I feel like there was no plot until like the ending. I was really frustrated. I just felt bored while reading this book. At quite sometimes there are like a lot of action scenes in here, so it kind of feels weird to say like nothing happened in this book, but like nothing happened in this book until like the very end. I really liked the world though immediately, even though like they get into it more in like later books and really show like the flaws of the Renegades in the other 2 books more. This did really set up, like they're really like neither the Renegades or the Anarchists are the good side here. That idea is really set up in the first book already, even though like our 2 main characters haven't gotten there yet. They're both like still very attached to their sides and their ideologies. And I also just really liked our 2 main characters, and like I said before, how they challenged each other's beliefs throughout this book without Aiden necessarily knowing that they're on different sides of the conflict. I feel like they both had different ideas of what the world was like based on their own experiences, and Nova was able to share some of her beliefs in a way that didn't make her look suspicious, you know? And I feel like it brought up really great discussions between the 2 characters that I really appreciated. I really liked the 2 main characters. I thought they were very interesting. I really liked their friendship as well and how that was built upon. I really appreciated it. I also have an interesting cast of side characters that we didn't get to know too much of in this book, but further books did get it. And at first while I was reading this, I wasn't sure if I should continue on with the series or not, because you know, I wasn't feeling it really that well. But then, that ending though, this ends on a huge cliffhanger. Well, not really cliffhanger, just ends on a plot twist. So, you want to know more. And that's why I desperately wanted to pick up the rest of the series. And I'm glad I did, because I did really enjoy the other 2 books. But I'm just saying that if that plot twist wasn't there at the end, I probably wouldn't have picked this up. I'm gonna be completely honest. So then, it took me a little bit to get to the rest of the series because I didn't want to buy the books. I wanted to get them from the library because after the Renegades I wasn't too sure if I was going to enjoy these. And Arch Enemies were just let out for like the longest time. So I couldn't get my hands on it, but then I did, and I read it. And I really enjoyed it. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I mean, it is my favorite in the series. And if it wasn't for technicalities and me just having to be objective in like some parts of my life, might have been a 5 star. Like I really wanted to give this a 5 star. I was like, in good conscience, you cannot. You just can't, because this book is very much like your typical second book in a YA trilogy. It's very filler, and I just really liked it because we got to spend a lot of time with these characters and developing these characters more. And like I said, I really enjoyed these characters, so I had a great time just developing them more and just seeing more of them, as well as just the side characters. I feel like I really got a grasp of who the other team members of Aiden and Nova are in this book, which I didn't really have in the first one. So I really appreciated that, and I just had fun reading this book. After Renegades, which kind of felt like a slog to get through, I just had so much fun reading this book, and I read this in one day. I wasn't meaning to do that, but I did it. I had other responsibilities that day. I just don't listen to myself. But I just had so much fun while reading this book. And I just, like I said, absolutely flew through it. Even if it was a bit more of a filler. Usually the filler books are the ones I just like slog through. But this, great. I had so much fun. And an element gets introduced into this book which very much changes how you view the Renegades, and how it changes a lot of things about this world. The fact that this got introduced, and I like the discussion around that thing that was happening in this book between like the different characters. I really appreciate that. And then this one also gave me the satisfaction of a slow burn romance. I haven't read a whole lot of slow burn romances because I don't know, actually. I just feel like it's not really that common in the YA genre. But having it happening in here, I was just like, fuck, I need more slow burn romances. It feels good. So can I make that happen more often, please? Or if it's happening a lot and I'm just missing it, let me know in the comments on books that have it, because it's great. And yeah, this is also, like I said before, this is where the Renegades you kind of start to see the flaws in their systems more. And I just started to hate them in this. Let's get voice editor, but like I generally just wanted to throw my book at the wall sometimes just because of the Renegades. But this already got me there pretty closely. Even though this was like a filler book, like the last 100 pages or so in this book were absolutely wild. Whew. Just Marissa Meyer knows how to end a book when there's a sequel coming, because damn, that was an ending. Therefore, again, I had to immediately pick up Supernova by Marissa Meyer. This is again from the library. I think the Dutch edition just got published, or is about to be published. I don't remember exactly. So that's why this is a different edition than the other two, because this is in Dutch and this is in English. Luckily, my library had the English. Just quick side rant, my library for some reason has a lot of last books and series in like the English edition. Just that. They don't leave most of the time they don't even have, either the series just doesn't have a Dutch translation or the library doesn't have a Dutch translation. Just the last book in the English series. My library is wild, man. In this case I appreciate it. Also because they have the first two books in Dutch, so like you could. But let's actually start talking about Supernova. I'm only giving this 4 out of 5 stars, and I think objectively this is the best book in the series because it doesn't have a dull moment. It's like it keeps going and it builds on the world a lot. It's very action packed. We build on the characters as well. But I was missing some breather moments because this, honestly, in the beginning, it's a little bit of like, it's not slow, but it's kind of like this threat that is looming. And then once that is gone, this just goes and doesn't stop. And I would have appreciated if there was a little bit more of like those breather moments in there, in which I could just, I don't know, just settle down and just register everything that happened. I feel like I didn't have a moment to register about everything that happened until the book was finished. And I would have appreciated some, just a couple of pages in which nothing really was happening, so I could just like breathe and just like register everything, which I just felt like I was missing from this book. And yeah, I do think this was a great ending to the series. I really liked how it ended up. I do kind of wish we got a little bit more of what the world will look like now, because I feel like that was very limited. Because kind of we stop at the end of the battle and then we get into like an epilogue that's like a year removed from the beginning of the first book. And I hated that epilogue. The epilogue is not well done because I feel like it doesn't give you a real sense of what has changed in the world, really. There's also a perspective switch in the epilogue. We get a perspective from a character we haven't had before. That felt a little bit weird to have a different perspective at the end, especially the character they chose. I feel like wasn't the right pick. If they necessarily wanted to give another perspective in an epilogue, I don't know. And then, well, later reading reviews on this book, I realized that there was supposed to be like a reveal in an epilogue. I just completely missed it. So I feel like that wasn't well written enough, because I feel like I pick up on things quite a lot in books. Like I'm not obvious, especially if it's a reveal. I don't miss it. But like it wasn't well done. So I didn't like the epilogue. I feel like that's like 10 pages, so they'll take too much away from overall enjoyment of the book. But I feel like it could have been done a little bit better and could have given us a better view of where the world is now without necessarily having to go like in a super length detail. You can do that in 10 pages as well. And maybe just give more closure on our characters that we've been following for 3 books by using one of them in the epilogue. Could have also been helpful. And not do a weird reveal that actually just, I don't know, contributes nothing anymore. So yeah, kind of the only reason why I would see the epilogue being done like this is for a potential spin-off series, and I don't know if I would want that because I'm kind of happy with how the series went. And a lot of part of this book is we've been following very much this divided view from anarchists and renegades, but there's a lot of people with superpowers in this world that don't fall in either of these categories, because the Renegades are very selective with who they allow in their ranks, I guess, and the Anarchists are a very secluded group, and they're also very extremist. So I get why a lot of people who maybe like follow the Renegades ideas but just weren't deemed good enough to go work with them wouldn't necessarily go immediately anarchist or other things. There's plenty of reasons to be against the Renegades without necessarily being anarchist, and I really liked having that third party perspective in this book as well. The only thing I might have appreciated a little bit more if you also got more perspectives of just the regular people without superpowers, besides just worshipping the Renegades like there's no tomorrow. Maybe that's just something I just thought of, a critique of the whole series, that I feel like we should have got maybe more inclusion of like regular people, but I don't know. So, but that kind of segues me into my overall thoughts. I really like this world, and I really like exploring the different superpowers. I feel like if you like the way like the superpowers worked in Miss Peregrine's Home, like the peculiarities in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, if you liked how like every character kind of had like their own different thing and everything was like very unique and different, I feel like you'll like that in this series as well. Like the series are very different, but I feel like the way the like magical powers work are very similar in a way. Still, the lore behind it is a little bit different, but I know what I liked about Miss Peregrine's is that every single character has like a different superpower, and even though the different powers can be like grouped into different sections, like it's still very unique to like that one person. That's definitely also the case in this book. There are some superpowers that are only known that one person has them, but they have like a whole category of like healers or something, but everything is like very unique to that one person. Because in this series, especially in this series, not in the Miss Peregrine series, but in this series, a lot of the superpowers are based on trauma and like people going through like a near-death experience or a traumatic experience, and that's what came that's where the superpower came out from. Because I feel like using like trauma as a way to like create magic without discussing trauma in the series might be a little bit iffy to people, but I also like it because it created a way for every superpower to be like very unique to that person and make sense still. So I don't know. Also, like I mentioned before, numerous time, I really like discussion about morality in this book, and very like the gray area heavy letter. I really liked it. It really showed the bad of like both extremes, as like going too extreme in either direction is bad, which I believe as well in the real world. Going too extreme in either direction, left or right, not a good idea. Series also shows that like both of the sides aren't that great, even though you could argue that they have a good mindset, but they just went too far off on the deep end, so it's not working well. Really appreciated that. Then I also just really like the characters. I also really got attached to like the side characters. I kind of wish we got a little bit more time with side characters in the third book, because a lot of new characters got introduced in there because of that middle party that got introduced in the book. We got a lot of new characters, and I feel like it would have been great to get a little bit more time with them and get to know them as well. I don't like the Renegades. It was a great slow burn, and yeah, it was very engaging series and had great plot twists. Honestly, when it comes to the ending of Arch Enemies, there aren't really like that big twists in there, but there's still moments that you're like, oh, did that just really happen? And I don't know, and Supernova also has this moment where you're like a little bit like shocked about what's happening, but it's not necessarily a plot twist. So yeah, I really enjoyed reading this series and had a lot of fun with it, and I would recommend it. So yeah, that's all I have to say on the Renegades trilogy by Marissa and Meyer. If you've read any of these books, let me know in the comment section below what you thought of them. You can go into spoilery details, just, you know, leave a little spoiler warning at the top so people who haven't read this series yet know not to read your comments. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye! Here I am again, the same old situation. What does the